Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to dive into one of the most surprising and complex developments in recent geopolitics, a story that has shaken observers around the world and redefined the way many see the balance of power in the Western Hemisphere. This is the unfolding chapter of Venezuela striking back at America in ways that very few would have predicted just a few years ago. For decades, the relationship between the United States and Venezuela has been turbulent, often marked by moments of confrontation, sanctions, and ideological clashes. But what we are witnessing now is more than just another disagreement. It is a calculated countermove from Caracas that aims to send a message not only to Washington, but also to the entire world. To understand this, we need to carefully analyze how Venezuela has reshaped its outward image, its internal dynamics, its performance on the global stage, the protective mechanisms it has built, the unique features of its strategy, the heavy price it has paid, and the conclusion that can be drawn from all this about where the world is heading. On the outside, the exterior image that Venezuela now projects is entirely different from the one most people had grown used to. For years, especially in the early 2000s, Venezuela was portrayed as a country falling deeper into crisis, battered by economic collapse, hyperinflation, political struggles, and mass migration. To the casual observer, it seemed like a state that was about to collapse under its own weight, making it easy for Washington to dismiss its government as fragile and unsustainable. However, in the past few years, and especially more recently, Venezuela has been able to rebuild its exterior presentation. Instead of being seen as a cornered and weakened nation, it now appears more resilient, more assertive, and more willing to challenge the dominance of the United States in its region. Much like a product redesigned with bold lines and a striking exterior that immediately catches the eye, Venezuela is signaling that it is no longer willing to quietly accept the label of isolation. Its leaders have returned to the world stage with speeches, diplomatic efforts, and energy deals that show confidence rather than defeat. The exterior now reflects a country determined to stand its ground. Inside, the interior is more streamlined and controlled than before. For a long time, internal divisions, chaotic economic management, and political infighting created an impression that Venezuela's leadership could not keep the country cohesive. Yet in recent years, despite continued hardship, the government has managed to reorganize and consolidate power. The administration has tightened its grip on the political narrative, stabilized certain aspects of the economy through pragmatic adjustments, and fostered a sense of unity among its core supporters. This interior may not be luxurious or comfortable. It still bears scars from years of crisis, but it is organized, functional, and disciplined in a way that allows the leadership to push forward its agenda. The short version of this interior story is that Venezuela has moved from internal disarray toward a more resilient and streamlined structure that supports its external ambitions. When we move to performance, the picture becomes even more striking. Venezuela's economy was once almost entirely dependent on exporting oil to the United States, a dependency that made it vulnerable when Washington imposed sweeping sanctions. These sanctions were designed to cripple Venezuela's economy, reduce its government revenue, and ultimately pressure the leadership into submission. But instead of completely breaking, Venezuela adapted. It began to diversify its partnerships, forging stronger energy ties with China, Russia, Iran, and other countries that are themselves often at odds with Washington. Even in Latin America, where U.S. influence is historically strong, Venezuela has found ways to build trade networks and strengthen regional ties. In performance terms, Venezuela has shown that it can operate outside the U.S.-dominated framework and still keep its engine running. The results are not always smooth. The economy still faces huge challenges, but the fact that Venezuela continues to sell oil, maintain diplomatic partnerships, and gradually stabilize certain sectors is an impressive demonstration of unexpected performance under pressure. Instead of stalling, the engine is running again, and that is what makes this moment so significant. No vehicle or strategy survives without safety features, and Venezuela has been very deliberate in building protections around itself. In geopolitical terms, these safety features come in the form of alliances and deterrence. By deepening relationships with powerful states like Russia and China, Venezuela has gained more than just economic partners. It has acquired strategic shields against total isolation. These countries provide investments, military cooperation, and political backing at international forums. Iran, another key partner, has helped Venezuela navigate sanctions and supply essential resources. These alliances act as airbags that deploy when Venezuela is hit with external shocks, preventing complete collapse. Additionally, Venezuela's most important natural safety feature is its massive oil reserves, among the largest in the world. No matter how harsh the sanctions, global demand for energy ensures that Venezuela always has leverage. The world cannot simply ignore such vast reserves, especially during times of global energy crisis. These protective elements ensure that Venezuela, though under constant pressure, has enough safeguards to avoid being crushed completely. Looking at the unique selling points, Venezuela stands out in several ways that make its current position remarkable. First, it has turned its natural resources into a strategic weapon rather than just an economic tool. Oil is no longer just about revenue. It is used to build alliances, create dependencies, and push back against U.S. influence. Second, Venezuela has embraced its role as a symbol of resistance. By positioning itself as a nation that refuses to bow to Washington, it inspires support from populations and governments across the globe that resent American dominance. This ideological branding makes Venezuela more than just a country, it turns it into a rallying point for a global narrative of sovereignty. Third, the resilience demonstrated in surviving years of sanctions, political isolation, and economic pressure gives it credibility. While many expected Venezuela to collapse, it has endured and is now striking back. These unique points distinguish Venezuela from other nations that might buckle under similar circumstances. But every strategy comes with a price, and Venezuela has paid heavily. The years of sanctions devastated its economy, caused severe shortages, and pushed millions of citizens to migrate abroad in search of better opportunities. Inflation skyrocketed, public services deteriorated, and the quality of life for ordinary Venezuelans suffered immensely. This suffering is the heavy price tag of resisting American pressure, yet from the perspective of Venezuela's leadership, this price is framed as an investment in sovereignty and independence. They argue that the sacrifices endured by the people are part of the struggle to free the country from dependency on Washington. As Venezuela starts to stabilize parts of its economy and rebuild international ties, the narrative is that the high cost is beginning to pay off. The price has been enormous, but in return, the country retains control over its own destiny. In the end, the conclusion is that Venezuela's strike back at America is not a short-lived event, but part of a broader reshaping of geopolitics. It has shown that even a country heavily targeted by sanctions and diplomatic isolation can find ways to adapt, survive, and eventually push back. The bold exterior image now projects confidence, the streamlined interior shows organization, the surprising performance proves resilience, the safety features ensure protection, the unique selling points highlight its distinct role, and the price reflects the sacrifices made. Together, these elements form a package that defies the expectations of Washington and alters the power dynamics of the region. The lesson here is that global influence is no longer one-dimensional, and nations that are underestimated can find ways to reassert themselves. Venezuela's shocking twist reminds us that geopolitics is never static, and the balance of power can change in unexpected ways when resilience, resources, and determination come together.